Yes.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jennifer Boyle, and I'm here today with Maddy Moon. Maddy is a coach and a former fitness competitor, and she has an amazing story for us. She's going to share a little bit of her information, and then we're just going to jam around some things that are quite popular in the media right now. So thanks so much for visiting us, Maddy.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is an honor.
So, I mean, you kind of gave me the 411 on what you do, and maybe you can just kind of tell the viewers today what it is that you specialize in.
Awesome. So I'm over at maddymoon.com, and what I do is I try to expose a lot of the behind the scenes that happened for me when I was in the fitness industry, and whenever I was, I was at my leanest, and I was at my thinnest, and I was at that perfect body ideal for most women. And when I was going through that time period, I would use the word depressed. I would use the word isolated. I was lonely, and so many other things were going on in my life that no one knew about, and especially people that followed me on social media, even a lot of people close to me, my family members. So what I do now that I've healed myself through that process, and I've taken time, and I've really done a lot of soul searching, I guess you could say, I started my website and I started a podcast, Mind Body Musings, where I share my own story and insight for women struggling with orthorexia or disordered eating or negative body image or perfectionism, anxiety, any of those kind of things, on how to get out of that, how to face the fears that you're experiencing. And I also invite really awesome people onto the show to talk about their own experiences with food and struggles in their body, as well as I write Kindle books, and I have some programs, and I'm just really all over the place trying to just get the message out to respect your body and don't always feel like the grass is greener on the other side, because many times it's not.
Yeah. And knowing what you know and having achieved that physical ideal and also stood on stage and presented that ideal to the world, would you say that when you had that, and it's like, you own it, but when you were in that quote unquote perfect body state, would you say that you were less happy, more happy? Like, how did that resonate for you?
Such a simple question, but it's so good.
Course,
it's such a good question. It's like, at the time I was, anyone that's ever lost a bunch of weight, they can probably resonate with this, of being like, yes, I lost the weight. Like, that happiness. It's so conditional. It's so fleeting. It's so short term, but you still have it. You're still like, yes, I finally got this. I can't say I never had that feeling, because I was looking at this body that I wanted for so long, finally got it. So of course I was like, but that was about 5 minutes. And all leading up to that, like years leading up to that. And the years after those 5 minutes, it was like, just everything came crashing down when I realized, wow, I have no friends. My relationship with my mom is terrible. I lost my period. I can't digest most of the foods I used to be able to digest, because either A, I eat them every day and now my body is sensitive to them and sick of them, or B, I never eat them so my body has forgotten how to digest them. Always feeling like there's another body out there that I should look like. I can never look thin enough. I can never be fit enough. Even when I reached the goals I had for my body, they weren't enough, because it was never about how I felt. It was always about, how do I look to the world? Yeah. When am I going to be enough in this person's eyes or that person's eyes? And I couldn't tell. I didn't know. Perfection is so subjective. So the bar kept increasing. And every time I spent more time at the gym, I would have a new standard. Okay, today I spent an hour and a half at the gym. Tomorrow it has to be an hour and 35 minutes, and so on and so on and so on. Right. So it really never was enough. So to answer your question, no, I wasn't happy. I didn't know what happiness was. All I knew was conditional happiness. I think with food, especially for me, it was always a thing of control. I mean, I suffered from orthorexia, and so for anyone that doesn't know what that is, it is an obsession with healthy eating. Doesn't mean you have orthorexia if you eat healthy. It means you have orthorexia if you have an obsession with it. The conditional happiness thing. And for me, it wasn't so much like organic, non-GMO, locally raised, pasteurized, all this stuff. It wasn't really that. It was more of pushing my boundaries and being how fit can I be? How in control can I be? And the counting calories and macros. I was all over that. I mean, my definition of healthy when I was in middle school and then even high school changed so much because whenever I was younger, I thought, oh, healthy is eating a salad. It's eating yogurt instead of a bagel. It's like just eating lower calorie, more nutrient dense foods, probably. Even that yet is not completely accurate, but it was like on a more right path.
Yeah.
And then once I got into fitness modeling or competing.
And you were how old at that point?
I started doing that at 21.
Okay.
But I started training before that around 20.
Right.
And 19. So when I started seeing food as my trainer saw food, my trainer being like, well, I only had a diet coach. I didn't have a physical exercise coach because I like knew that part. I had been doing that for years. So I had that part down, but I had someone tell me how to eat. Like, you have to eat like this. You can only have, I only had 7 foods for 18 weeks. Oh. I would wake up and have my AM workout, and then I could eat breakfast right after that. But if I had class, because I was in school, if I had class at, 12 to 4, and say my meal was at 2 o'clock, I would pack my shake, my oatmeal, protein powder, almond milk shake in my backpack and let it sit in the Texas heat. And then at, 2 o'clock on the dot, pull it out and just chug it. And then I would get like bloated and gassy because I drank it so like stressed and so quickly because I was so starving. And then I would just like feel terrible. I would feel terrible for the rest of the day. And just so much protein. My digestion was just a wreck, to say the least. I was on like those smooth move teas all the time.
Yeah.
I took sleeping Advil PM almost every night. Right. My body, I can't even explain how much of a wreck I was. And no one saw it. Everyone was just, wow, you're so fit. You're so healthy. Can you train me? What do you do? How do you eat? Can you come over to my place and just like help me make food because I want to eat like you? And I'm trying to act like everything is just, my life is perfect. I'm like, yes, I'm so fit. I'm so healthy. I'm self-righteous above all of you people because I eat this way. I don't eat falafels, and I don't eat gyros, and I don't eat tacos. I don't know what that stuff is because I miss clean eating, and I am super special. And that's how I felt, honestly. I felt very like, here's the world, here's me, because I eat a certain way. But my happiness and my sense of purpose depended on that feeling. If people stopped doing that, I'd work harder. If I stopped feeling like I was losing weight, I would work harder. And I was already so thin, but my body dysmorphia, meaning I see myself as a different way than I am, was so getting worse and worse as I got thinner. And I remember I was dating someone at the time, and just he kept being like, I can't wait till you're done with your competition because we can drink wine together, we can cook together, we can do all these fun things, we can stay out late. And I'm thinking, no, you're going to take away my body from me. Yeah. You're out to get me. You're going to steal it from me. And that I self-sabotaged that relationship because I had so much anxiety about him wanting to like see me as a free me, because he started to know me when I was training for this. And he was like, this is cool. This girl has goals. Neat. But what he didn't realize is that after the competition, I would get even more strict because then I didn't have a reason to eat so crazy. So I was like blocking out the rest of the world, just like running through with my football, like, get out of my way, get out of my way. Like, I've got to eat perfectly. And I eventually shoved him out because I was just so, like 5 a.m. in the morning, I had to get up and I'd have to work out, and then I'd have to eat like my 3/4 cup of this and then have 2 egg whites or whatever. And if he would eat one of my egg whites, I'd be like, ah,
don't eat my food. I can't eat very much, so what I can eat, don't touch it.
That's how I felt. And today, I even still get that way.
Yeah.
And I'm undoing a lot of that stuff because I can eat anything. The world is my oyster. I can eat any food I want, but sometimes I feel like, don't touch my food. Like, And I'm like, Madeline, this food is abundant. It's for you forever. Anytime you want it, you can have it.
Yeah.
Give, share. Like, you don't need to eat a certain amount. And that's a process. It's something I'm way better at today. But it is hard to undo, and it's something that's like ingrained in your mind that everyone is out to get you off your perfect like meal plan and your perfect body, which there is no such thing, of course.
Wow. So when you say that, when you started this, I'm not sure that, I think you said journey, or like when you started your healing process, what was the inciting incident for that? Like what sparked that for you that made me say, or made you say, whoa, I've got to step back and do some changing here?
So the aha moment after my second competition of a whole like competition prep of that, oh, what do I do? I don't know what I'm doing. I ended up doing the show and walked out, did my pose, like winked at people and like just like felt super sassy.
Yeah.
And then I stood up there and then the judges called 5 people forward and everyone knows those 5 people are going to be the top 5. They're just like saying who should be number 1, number 2. I wasn't one of them. And I remember standing there like in that line just shaking, just like holding my pose and like wanting to cry because I wasn't in that top 5 and I knew I was going to make number 1. I was like, I had to make number 1. I'm the best. And like then realizing that these judges decided I wasn't the best. To me, it was like, what am I good at? What am I good at? If I can't succeed in making the world think that my body is the most beautiful masterpiece that's ever existed, who am I? So I went home to my hotel and I remember just laying on like the hotel bed and looking up at the ceiling and just like, what is life? Like a moment like that. Yeah. And then I said, this isn't worth it. None of this was worth it. This was not worth it. That's all I could like muster up to say. Yeah. And that meant everything. And from there, my mom was like, what? Because she had never thought I would say that, admit that. So from there, I just started doing one thing after another. And my intuition told me. It's not like I read a map of like how to recover from this, because at the time it really wasn't known. Yeah. Orthorexia has blown up, I would say, in the past months. Like it is very new, and the term was coined, I think, in 1996, or yeah, I think so. That term has been around for a long time, but it didn't get much attention. Like it wasn't really known, and I just recently, a few months ago, when it started getting more popularity, being like, that's what I had. There's now a term for it, because I always called it EDNOS, eating disorder not otherwise specified. Yeah. So then from there, I got a dog. I wanted to have more responsibility. I wanted to care about something else. I wanted my gratitude muscle to be trained. I moved from where I was in this toxic environment that was all about, look at me, to Colorado, where it's like mountains, beautiful, like starting fresh, didn't know a soul, didn't tell anyone that I left, just picked up and moved in 48 hours. I was like, they do this in the movies, I could do this in real life. I'm just going. So I just left. Yeah. And that was one of the best decisions I've ever made. Like moving, and I would love to say, it's all on the inside of the healing. Sometimes it is on the outside. Sometimes you do have that toxic person that keeps bringing you back down. Absolutely. And reminding you of why you need to change, or just a memory you can't get past a certain place that you have to go by every single day. And you need to get away. And that's not anything to be embarrassed about. That's nothing you should be ashamed of. It's not like it only can happen on the inside. It's 2 parts. Your environment and who you're around, who you spend your time with, makes a huge difference. Yeah. But also what goes on the inside. And for me, I needed to get away so that I could look on the inside and see what's going on in there and put that magnifying glass up.
So when you're reflecting back, and you're using a lot of very specific and very conscious terminology. I was up here and the world was down here, and I thought I was perfect. That's some conscious reflection, obviously, that you've done. What did that look like? Was that books? Was that meditation? Was it therapy?
When I did the healing process?
Yeah, like just to really consciously identify, wow, I have like a perfection complex, or whatever you want to call it. Where did excuse me, where did those words come from? Where did you kind of identify those?
I did a lot of reaching out to different sources. And honestly, I felt like God was putting things in my life that I needed. I discovered intuitive eating, and I took a really long road trip at one point, and I put intuitive eating on Audible, listened to it the whole ride, and I was like, wow, like that's me. Yeah. That helped me so much. That was like a Kickstarter. And then from there, I have one of my mentors, his name is Matt Stone, and he wrote Eat for Heat and Diet Recovery. He's of 180 Degree Health, the website, and he reached out to him. Now he's like one of my mentors, but at the time he just gave me a lot of advice on like what's going on, what's like the food fears coming from. So adding people into my life that I really needed, new sources, helped me a lot. And then working on a lot of gratitude. I had this jar that I put at the front of by the door, front of my apartment, and I called it my gratitude jar. And I would have little strips of paper, and on one side I would write what I'm grateful for the day. And the other side I'd write my intention for the day. So I'm super grateful that I even have a stomach to digest food. On the other side, I intend to spend less time on social media. I'm a list person, so I started writing lists of all the things I should stop doing, all the things I should start doing, and I called this my feast and fast list. So this is one thing I do with a lot of my clients. I'll have them do a feast fast list where you write down on the feast side all the wonderful things in life you want to feast on. You want to feast on coffee dates with friends. You want to feast on fiction books. You want to feast on candles, buying candles for no reason. Do you want them? Feast on getting your hair blow dried. Feast on like wearing fake eyelashes because they make you feel pretty.
They sure do.
You know? And then the fast list goes, I'm going to fast from asking people what kind of diet I should have, or reading articles on bodybuilding.com about fitness, or I'm going to fast from doing my AIM cardio. For me, I had to fast from working out for a whole month. I didn't let myself step into a gym. This thing that's seen as so healthy for so many people, I had to cut myself off from. I couldn't do it anymore. So I said, for a month, all I'm going to do is walk. I'm going to walk barefoot. I'm going to walk outside. I'm going to walk inside. I'm going to walk my dog. I'm going to walk and listen to a podcast. That's all I'm allowed to do. And I found myself really loving walking and falling in love with it. And while the rest of the world was saying walking's not like an exercise, I said, oh my gosh, yes it is. For me, this is exactly what I need. This is the healthiest thing there possibly is for me right now.
Yeah, walking's amazing. It's funny, I remember one of your articles that you were writing and just saying that you don't, when you actually got honest with yourself, I don't actually enjoy the gym.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, wow, I guess there's spending a whole lot of my life dedicating myself to something that I actually really don't enjoy that much.
And that is still something I put pressure on myself to hurry and find something I enjoy.
Yeah.
And like I recently started going back to the gym and I realized, nope, still don't like it.
No.
So I quickly was like, sorry, I got to cancel my membership. Not good for me. Not enjoying it. And I tried to do it because I don't know if I was spending more time on social media or if I was just getting nervous that, okay, it's been a year. I need to go back to the gym. But whatever it was quickly went away because I could see it. I finally can see the things that I'm like doing and sabotaging myself with instead of letting them just like pass on by and me continue to do it like a robot. I have vowed to myself to take control of my own joy.
One thing I love that you keep referencing is external validation versus internal validation. And just how much when you were doing the fitness competition and when you were like really in that eating the orthorexia stage, just how much you were externally referencing from what other people's opinions of you. And now just it sounds like you're just referencing so much more from your intuition.
Right. Yeah. And another thing that really helps me is like, so I'm Christian, and for me, I was getting really, so I suffered from having idols. That's my biggest flaw when it comes to me and my faith. Me and God are like really close, but every time I have an idol, my body, food, perfectionism, it gets in the way. The last thing I wanted at my funeral is for people to just stand around and be like, man, Madeline, she was really good at clean eating. She was really good at working out. Yeah. At the time, that's all they would have said about me, and I was not happy with that, so I changed it.
Was that something that you promoted on social media? Was your lifestyle and everything like that, like the clean eating, the gym selfies, that kind of thing?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
My first blog was Moon Fitness, and because my last name's Moon. Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
But it was Moon Fitness, and it was just a blog full of clean eating recipes, paleo recipes, my workouts. My back building workout or glute greatness, gym time. I don't know. I'm just saying that. But I would just have words on there.
Yeah.
And I would just constantly be on social media like, hey, look at me. I'm opening my 6-pack bag, which is like a a cooler for all your meals. Or I would take pictures of my food, my chicken and green beans or broccoli in the car and be like, oh, no excuses. Eating chicken and my greens in the car cold because I train hard and I have goals. Like, no excuses. Don't give up. And everyone else is looking in being like, wow, like Madeline's not giving up. Am I giving up? Like, she doesn't have excuses. Do I have excuses? I guess I could go to the store and go buy a whole bunch of those meals and just make them all real quickly and have them prepared for the week like she does. And then I wouldn't have any intuition with my food. And I just eat the same thing over and over because Madeline looks like that and she must be loving it. I was just constantly showing people like my pre-workout drinks, which I had all the time, or my nighttime casein pudding, which is like protein powder and a little bit of water, just like mixed together. And just being like, yay, I've been waiting all day for this scoop of protein powder. I'm so excited. I finally get to eat it.
Yeah.
And then people are like, yeah, that looks great. And I'm like, oh, yes, it's so good. And I feel like I was promoting the whole no excuses mentality, like as if everyone has to have the same goals.
Mm-hmm.
I never shoved it on anyone. I was never like, you need to do this. Even when I was a vegan and a vegetarian, which I was, which kickstarted the whole entire orthorexic mindset.
Yeah.
I never did that. But when people would ask me what I did and come to me for advice, I'd be like, you know, this is how it is. You got to eat this way or you won't like look amazing or look the way you want. And I remember one of my best friends asked for coaching with me and I put him on a meal plan. And it was way too few calories for him. He's a big boy. And he had like a turkey burger one day. He's giving it his all. He's like trying hard. And he had a turkey burger and it was not on the meal plan. And he told me, he's like, hey, I had a turkey burger yesterday, but I didn't have the bun, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh yeah? Well, for today, you're supposed to have 5 ounces of beef at 5 o'clock, but since you went off the meal plan yesterday, you can't have that.
Wow.
You gotta have chicken. Like,
yeah.
have to stay on track. Like, thinking back to that, I'm like, man, so wrong, because your body doesn't work that way. Your body does not. That one step for him, eating a turkey burger instead of like, I don't know, a pound of like chili fries, like, way to go him. That's awesome. Yeah. He's like eating intuitively. He's eating real foods. But to me, healthy wasn't healthy enough.
I know hypervigilance. That's one thing that my therapist actually talked to me a ton about. It was just she was an eating disorder therapist, and she still is. And she just says, like, straight across the board, whether you're dealing with any form of disordered eating, I think specifically, obviously, anorexia, but orthorexia would fit in there as well. Just this hypervigilance in so many areas of your life, and then just seeking to control through food. The education isn't available for everybody to say, hey, this magazine is airbrushed. Like, some people actually don't know that. Some parents aren't even aware of how much their kids are on the internet and on Instagram, but they're not yet aware to say, okay, that's not real. There's this thing called a filter. There's this thing called an app on your phone you can buy for 99 cents, and you can pinch it and you can make your thighs smaller. I mean, it's crazy. Give people that personal responsibility to say, hey, I've got to start being more accountable for myself for how I receive this. Like you said, I like that. There's not good or bad. It's just how we perceive it. And it's got to be, they're always going to be there, right? Supermodels are going to be there. Sex sells, beauty sells, airbrush. Nobody's going to want to go on the front cover of Vogue magazine with a big zit or like, a little mole hair sticking out of their chin, right? It's always going to be there. It's just up to us to be educated about it and informed, and ultimately how we respond to it and how it makes us feel, I think is a huge factor, especially for, like I say, for young girls.
I'm creating out of love now. I want to create because I want to inspire people, not just make money. I want to help people. I want to give without expecting everything in return. Like, that's really what I want. Mm-hmm. And I realize that, and I'm trying to just remember that and carry that through. And
one thing I love that you touched on there was just how freeing it can be to your other relationships, to the other areas of your life, when you're not caught up in thinking about food and your body all the time.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking we can maybe close on that. If you could just maybe share how it's helped you, like even just to be more present and to be more available. Like my favorite quote is Howard Thurman. He says, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive, because what the world needs is more people who have come alive."
I
And
love that.
that's why I do what I do, is because I think that when people feel good in their bodies, not, feel good about their bodies and projecting them, but actually as a felt experience, they feel good in their bodies. I think people can come more alive in their life. How did you find, when you stopped obsessing about food and body, how did you find yourself come alive in other areas of your life, and the other people that you're helping? Do you find that's a factor for them too?
Yes. So when basically, I made room. I made room. There was no room like for anything else. There's no room besides my food and my body. And once I started to take those things out, I started making room. Like I started giving the opportunity to make those relationships, to find someone I can click with, to bond with my mom again. And me and my mom are best friends. She is my best friend. And I think I made more room for that to happen. We've grown closer, and we don't spend our time talking about food. We never talk about food together, and I love it. We
Yeah.
talk about
Yeah.
everything else except for food and our bodies. Like, let's just not talk about that because it's not interesting to either one of us. And with my boyfriend, it's like, when I met him, I was at a coffee shop because I could go to a coffee shop now. Like before, I was too scared about missing a meal, or like, coffee, like how many calories are in coffee? Like none. But in my mind, I was like, there's gotta be like at least 15. That kind of stuff would go on. And I met him there, and I was present and aware, and I was open to having a conversation with a stranger. Before, I was so scared people were going to try to come in and knock down my walls or get me off track, that if a stranger would try to talk to me, I'm like, what do they want? What do they want from me? And like when he started talking to me, I was like, open up the doors.
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation. Let's get to know each other. And, ever since then, like we can eat food together. Like, I can cook for him. I can cook for myself. And I'm not stressed about us going out and having a beer because we live in Colorado where there's breweries everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's something fun we bond over. So we've been able to grow so much with that. And, he knows about my past and my struggles, and he's very open. Sometimes I have to tell him exactly what I need. Hey, some days I have bad body image days, and I need you to just tell me that I'm sexy to you and that you like love my body. Like I need that too. Just because I'm a body image coach doesn't mean I don't struggle. And two, what you eat really does determine what you can do with people as well. Like I sleep well because I eat certain nutrients and I get a good amount of magnesium. Like I just feel so much more balanced in my life, and I've chosen a partner that doesn't get obsessed with exercise and food either, because I knew that wouldn't be good for me. And so I knew that going into all my relationships I've ever had, I've just said beforehand, I can't be with someone that says things like, I need to go to the gym. I need to eat better. I need to do this. It's like intuitive eating, and let's do it together. Let's like make it fun together and like nourish our bodies. And he gets that. So whoever that person is that you're imagining right now, I want to be like this girl. I wish I could have the life of this girl when I dance and I eat what I want, and I can just like have a great time no matter what I'm doing. That girl you can be right now.
Good for you for moving forward in your career and bringing that to other people. I think that's awesome. I think what you're doing is just outstanding, and keep doing it. Thank you so much, Maddy, for being in this interview today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. It was such a pleasure. I love getting to know you. I love sharing this message. So it was a delight. And thank you for everything you're doing in the world, because it's making a huge difference.
Yep, it's fun stuff. I will link all of your social media and your website and everything below the post. So thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.